All right, good morning, afternoon, and evening, wherever you may be. It is January 29th, and we're starting this extra Zoom session, and we've got some wonderful people live and virtually in attendance. Um, Don, good morning.
Good morning.
We have our special guest and gongster, gongmaster, sound, tonal. What do you call yourself?
It depends on the audience.
Okay.
I call myself Michael uh, most of the time. People, it's
Oh,
sound energy master, gong master,
yeah.
something to do with sound, usually. Uh, Shamanic practitioner if I need to, but that's we go we.
Well, welcome. We're
It's hard to
excited to
say
have you in
what we are.
attendance.
Thank you, thank you for cutting me off.
So, one of the things we wanted to discuss is the use of the Memgong yoga um, for your gong bass, but as well as for your gong playing. And so, Don,
Hmm.
I thought it would be nice if you give us a little bit of a background to the Memgong yoga.
Well, I think it's your field as well because it's acupuncture. We call it acupressure, acupuncture. It's really following the meridians of the body and the muscles that are connected to each of the meridians. So that what we do is simply we create our own yoga. We call it holistic gong yoga, insofar as we borrow from the
Kundalini
Chinese,
and Chinese.
yeah, and then we connect on to it the conscious breathing. We have a great selection of breaths to give to the people who come to the gonging, and then we do stretches. What I generally do is I ask everybody to stand up and loosen up. First thing, loosen up because so many people are still uptight from being out on the street. They need to be able to be free to boogie a little bit with their arms. And I watch them, and I notice that some people maybe have a shoulder tightness and they're working on the shoulder and all that. And then we go around and very quickly share. Like I say, okay, and I noticed you were doing this like this year. Let's everybody do it with her. So we all become one. And then we apply the breath. What breath do you use? You can say, well, I'm using breath of fire. I'm long, deep breathing. Okay, we do that. And then when we inhale and hold the breath, it is not holding down. It is, of course, it is pulling up. So I tell everybody to think of being a puppet, and they're pulling them up straight through the crown chakra up like that. So when you uh, if you don't want to say root lock or Mahaband or any of that, you simply say in the army, I remember that everybody did that. They said, attention, and everybody applied Mahabandha, we call it in yoga, and it works fine. So if you can just say, pull up, most everybody will do it in the right way for themselves rather than being placed upon them and hurting themselves in any way or disrupting any belief systems they have. So that would simply hold up, and exhale. And relax totally. So I have certain key words that are commands that we say, and I think everybody has their own selection. But over the years, you get stuck on some because they seem to be more natural to you than others. Uh, and then and release and relax. So let the energy circulate, much like in Kundalini Yoga. Um, but now remember, Kundalini Yoga, there are many different varieties of Kundalini Yoga. The first Kundalini Yoga that I learned was when I was 17 years old, and I was studying with Yogananda's, you know, Kriya. And of course, he only gave out one Kriya, and with different variations, additions, and all that. And so I go back to that original one, but then Yogi Bhajan came along, and he had his, and then we had Shivananda. We had all the different yogis that brought Kundalini Yoga over to the West. They all had their different commands, and you could have your own. But mainly, it's quick, it's simple, and it's like uh, doesn't threaten anybody. Unless you have some really dyed in the wool students, you see, who know the language and all that, and have been there, done that, and you can use other words for it.
Well, I think you bring up a good point. If you're saying that you're doing Kundalini yoga, then you're going to stick to the way your teacher taught you in the right way, versus utilizing those terminology with the Memgong yoga,
Yeah.
which is we're going to be utilizing the portion of that we know has a long history.
Might be familiar with
Yeah.
it through your studies.
So you can reference the Great Locks and explain them.
But I think I generally go to the general public and I'll say, inhale, pull up, up. And as you do that, and as you express it with your voice, as you do it like this here, your third mirror neurons will do it correctly, and you can cut to the chase. Right? Yeah. So that's what I generally do. And you check out your audience and make sure that if anybody has got any problems, you don't want them to follow you like the Pied Piper. You want them to be able to, do it gently so that they support their healing rather than challenge it.
So, and I think that's really the case, as you've noticed, Erica, is like you can like fully immerse yourself in love Kundalini and be into it, and then all of a sudden you're faced with the reality of being with audiences that you're going to be adjusting. So, how do I make this inclusive and accessible to whoever you're working with?
And those shruti songs come in here because when we go to the shruti books, I would take it that everybody has the books that we say, inhale, pull up, exhale, relax, shake out. How was that? That's a really good thing when you say, how was that? How you feeling? Any tightness? All right there. Okay. And so that you address everything. You don't let anything slip if you can. And if somebody has a real problem, whether it would be cancer or you name it, you tell them, look, all you have to do is to command your innate intelligence to do it. And you don't because now when you get older, you can just do a little bit like that. And it goes a long way. You've already been there, done that, and now the energies are going to obey your desire. If you want to say, inhale deep, hold it, and exhale and relax, shake out. And then, of course, you always go back, feedback all the time. The teacher depends on the teacher's response, what their feedback is to the student. The one thing I've been very careful about, and sometimes I haven't, is that I don't want to put people into a box. Right now we're into a rectangular box, but what I'm talking about is a box meaning don't do it because I told you to do it or said to do it. Your innate intelligence is what guides the yoga teacher. So that was.
I think those are all good points. I think the end, release, relax, roll the neck around
And
in
then
terms of
work hard, dream big.
work hard, dream big. Yes. Or love is all you need.
Something that is beautiful and kind and lovely, that type of a thing. And to allow people to be where they are, like we used to say, be here now, and just go ahead and work with that. Especially if you have older people, and you have to be very, very gentle. Yeah.
Well, and I think also you cast your net out, right? And then the people that appear at your event or your class or your training, you could have a whole bunch of older people, you got younger people, and you adjust and respond to that.
And if you do something with people, let's say I just talked to my sisters a year and a half older than me, and they're in an old folks home now. And but if you're going to go do your yoga or your gonging in an old folks home, then you go ahead and you really do it very, very subtly. And I don't say you just go through it by the numbers, but you kind of like, oh, isn't that good? Make it feel good.
Well, there's something about the idea of subtleness being as potent as necessarily doing that hardcore, Bikram, hot yoga, so you have your cautions and contradictions in terms of, let's say, if a woman's on her cycle or high blood pressure. And so one of the benefits of having a subtle practice is you still get all of those profound shifts that you're looking for without necessarily worrying about the usual kind of contraindications or cautions that you would normally have with a harder practice.
And the 39 exercises of Gong Yoga of holistic resonance. Now, I specify this because there's a lot of Gong Yogas out there. It's okay, but mine is of holistic resonance. That you can feel more resonant when you're finished. That's enough. Not to go for, too high up. Just till you feel like, oh, okay, that's good. All right, now let's do the gonging.
And that little shift provides an opening for the next level of healing each time.
Yes, that's all you need to do is support the self-healing of the people. Even though you got 100 people out there in your class, well, that was pre-virus. You had a lot of people out there. So you just say simple little things. And those who know and will do what they know anyway. They're not going to listen to you anyway. So, but those who don't know will listen and won't go overboard.
So this is a lot of when you're teaching or sharing with your class or your event.
Or yourself, when
I was going to say,
your own students. You be kind to yourself and show yourself the way of your heart. Those shrutis songs are very good if you want to veer away from anything that is like religious or, of a certain nature. You don't want to tread on anybody's patent or copyright. So you always just work through your kind of like that, and allow it to be. What you don't say, you don't say. A lot of times I know when I used to do, I had all these things I decided to say, came to me when I was waking up. And then you get up there and then everything goes out the window and you just sort of deal with kind of like what is. And yeah, I'm sure you do the same thing. Yeah.
So we were discussing, Bernarda's been, she's been doing the online trainings with us now for over a year and a half now. Yeah. So she's incorporated a lot of these practices, and we have new people here live and virtually. Yeah. And so I thought maybe some tips and practices towards yourself. You're not with anybody else. It's just you. You're going to play the gong. You're going to do your own healing self-practice. What tips or steps would you do for yourself?
Well, the first thing that I do is I do a kind of just a improvisational stretch so I can feel myself. Then I'll apply the breath, and then a good affirmation, a good reprogramming, something that I know that would be, more holistic for myself. So there's different things that you can do. You can do the inhale, hold, pull up, exhale, relax. Ta. Ta is a wonderful signal. I think most of you do it now. What does it mean? Ta or ta.
We're done?
No, that's pai.
Oh, pai.
Okay. A ta is a nice thing because we're never done. I don't use it much anymore, pai. But ta is great. And that means that you've completed one cycle. And isn't that nice? And then you go to your next one, your next one, your next one. Always kind of giving yourself a pat on the back when you're finished with each exercise. And then the students you have there are going to imitate you. Forget anything else. Whatever you do, they'll do. So I try not to do those things that I don't want them to do.
Okay. Since we did last year's online Memgong yoga, we'll go to the gym twice a week, and I'll even do it while I'm doing the machines. I'll do my little breath of fire, or my inhale, exhale, and then do the locks in the gym. And I've seen Don do it. He has his little weights that he does. So even just doing 3 to 5 minutes.
And we follow the instructions of Kundalini Yoga, which makes sense, is that you don't apply the locks if you're in your menses, or if you have any serious problems in the lower part of your body, and you don't hold your breath in and tighten because you don't want to fall down. If you exhale your air out and pull up, there's no threat. You can do that. You're not going to get dizzy. It's people when they inhale, hold, pull up, and then all of a sudden they go woozy. They just want to get woozy. No, you don't want that. You want to stay in a neutral, balanced state all the time.
So, so that would be something great, Erica, to start incorporating just with your own practice. And it's wonderful shifts.
And find a good shruti for the occasion. I think this is very important. Sometimes we don't have time to plan or prepare. We're just thrown into it, and then whatever comes up comes up. But if you can pick out some of the shruti songs or the sayings that really fit the situation. There was one that I wrote so many years ago: "Be kind to your soul, show it the way of your heart." Etc., etc. It's all in the shruti books. But if you can also make one up yourself, uh, honor it by sharing it with somebody else so that they can try it as well.
When we did our performances, Erica had used the Buddhist master. I cannot pronounce his name.
Tich Khan?
Yes.
Yeah.
She had
Thich
used
Nhat
that.
Hanh. Thich Nhat Hanh.
Yeah, I need to, I'm visual. I need it written down.
Great name.
I also could never figure out how to say aluminum
Has
when I
he
was
gone
young.
into Mahasamadhi yet?
Yes, they had they did a whole thing
What
for
a-
him. They were talking about it this morning on the radio.
What a wonderful person. My God.
Yes. So you had taken some of his writings, which is beautiful, and also you can take that long writing that you've done, and in terms of your sharing or shruti, you can just even just take one line from that and repeat it in the three voices, and then move on to the next line. So really consolidate those pearls and the juice, as well.
So basic things in the beginning, and then as you begin to build your repertoire of things to say and exercises to do, remember all the exercises are very short. Remember that between 30 seconds and a minute and a half, when we begin to play the gong, then you are not you anymore. You kind of disappear, yeah? And then you just channel, so the gong is playing you, playing it, playing you, playing it, etc. And then you would just do various gentle things, subtle things. We don't try to crash the gates of heaven. We just sort of gently climb the ladder into the clouds, and no hurry, no rush, just very, very beautifully. Do everything because we have a saying that in the end, only beauty makes any sense. So we do everything very beautifully.
So I'm going to paste on the course some of these just guidelines. This has been so much fun. I'm usually the one writing in the chat box, but it's Saturday. I gave myself a break.
It's nice to be present here.
Yeah.
So, but this idea of number one, the intuitive warm up of just letting people move, and you could have a little gonging going on while that's happening, and you can even do that for yourself. You can gong and kind of loosen up and just get yourself kind of present and in the space.
Some of you know how to do larihan, which is simply that you're doing like going to a boogie and you dance. And then you can move it however you feel like that, really in touch with your innate self and doing what pleases you. So sometimes when I go to a barefoot boogie or do something like that, I will, perfect, perfect, perfect. So the music changes, and then you get inspired to do a different pranayama or a different type of movement. And so that's the yoga of spontaneity, creativity, and I think it works better that way.
It's interesting that here, what's gotten really popular in Los Angeles is this, it's called Ecstatic Dance LA. And on Sundays, it's at the beach, and they have a DJ and they have live music. So you walk in, you see a huge group of people on the beach, some live music and calling people in. You go, you get your headphones on, and so you're listening to the DJ on the headphones, and everyone's just on the beach dancing and moving around, and he's guiding you through. It's, there's not any yoga or anything in it. It's just dance. But within the process of that, it is a yoga. It is a form of divine revelation in and of itself.
And not too much. This is not a Kundalini yoga class where you play the gong at the end. And so you got to get away from that a little bit. And what you want to do is just be very, instead of being like locked, what is this called?
Remind me.
A-okay.
Locked Gyan Mudra. This is just a gentle Gyan Mudra. If you're doing it like this, pull up. You don't all right, pull up. Keep your arms straight. No, you just want to do that. Of course, everybody could get probably higher if you do it stronger, but then you don't want to do that. You want to be happier.
Well, I mean, there's a reason and a season, right?
Yeah, so you be careful.
We actually, our other person is probably here at the gate. So do you want to let her in?
Somebody else?
Yeah, we have one more person coming for the training.
Oh,
and she's calling in. Erica, you raised your hand. Do you want to unmute yourself?
Yes. So I have a couple of things about what Don was saying. When you tell the people to pull up, I think they're instinctively, they contract all their muscles in their body without you telling them pull the root lock or whatever. It's like an instinct, no? That you contract everything. The other thing is that you have to be careful also with pregnant women when you're doing all these things. And as you said, the blood pressure or anything. And if someone cannot do any of the exercises, then I will just say, do it with your imagination. If you are like on a chair or you cannot move, because you have this homunculus in your head that is doing all the work for you.
Absolutely.
And regarding the dancing that you're saying, I had the experience in Dubai. One of my friends was doing tribal dancing, and it was like a 3-hour session, but she had everything under control, like the kind of music you start very slow and then you go higher, and with the breathing, it was very interesting. And then you relax. Yeah.
That's the beauty is, right, when you're doing that bucket list, the 50 plus occasions to gong, there's so many different, I remember when we were developing that, when I did the training in 2003, I think at the time we had 25. But it was like building, like, where else can you use these tools? Like, where else do you see this happening?
Yes. For example, I have a question for you. My son, he's selling this Mexican drink. It's an alcoholic drink. It's mezcal. I don't know if you've heard about it, but it's like from agave, like a plant, like tequila kind of, with different flavors and stuff. And now in Mexico, there is the trend that you can do meditation at the same time that afterwards you drink some whatever. So we were thinking about offering like a taste of this, but first gonging the people, and then let them do whatever they want with this. So how do you feel about this practice?
Yeah, no, I think it's fine. I've tried it myself. It's all right. Anything that's going to make you kinder, gentler, more, to allow things to go through you without resistance. Because you'll find out the main thing we get rid of in the yoga class is hi.
Hi, Don.
Well, look who's here.
Hi. We're just finishing up a Zoom. Sure. Good to see you. I think the key here really has to do with and this is common sense, is moderation, right? So we're not saying, it's so funny because I was invited to a weekend retreat at a vineyard, a winery in Ojai, and it was yoga and wine tasting, which seems completely, but what we did is we had really healthy meals, we had yoga throughout the day, but then at nighttime they did wine tasting. Okay, so I mean, that would seem to me a responsible way of incorporating these things that bring life. So we're not saying let's drink and then gong, or let's but what we're saying is if you're doing gong and you're opening yourself up and you're having experience, and then you have something as medicine or as in moderation, I think that's a responsible way of incorporating in a very creative way.
Yeah.
Plus, the benefit of gonging the drink itself, it will raise the vibration of the drink, no?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. It's easy to get hung up on these things like that. I just simply ignore it. Like, I don't really want to look into your backyard and see your laundry. You got to live in a way that you don't trespass on anybody's consciousness. That you allow things to be, and then just tell them to do it gently, like you were a mechanic adjusting the valves of a car, very, very gently. The more gently you do it, the higher that you get insofar as your consciousness goes. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting because when I was teaching in 2005 at the Herbal Symposium, I was experimenting with having tea and then the gong, but what I was using like holy basil, like adaptogenics, to kind of open things up and then doing the gong. So that was kind of like a gentle way of incorporating and integrating those practices. I think also what happens is people have their yams and niyams of their traditions and practices, the do's and don'ts. People have very specific kind of their own set of morals and ethics, and that has its place and its reason and season. And also, how do we honor someone's religion or this, and also, like you said, not necessarily be put at, we're all about getting out of the box versus putting people back in boxes.
Mm-hmm. So anyway, so we just stay away from anything controversial, basically. Remain neutral, because the neutral consciousness is the best consciousness, where you don't have anything to sell or anything like this. It's just like we're concerned. So when you do your classes, I think you keep your eyes open as a teacher and you just watch people. And you do it exactly the way you want them to do it. And of course, you're doing it more kind of like in a way that is not going to give them a sense that they've got to really do it hard, but to do it very gently. The gentler, the better.
Well, and this idea of incorporating gong or vibration and sound into a product that you're going to either intake or put on your skin. Back in 2003, I was making pregnancy balms, and hair balms and hair and sprays and and I would gong and Reiki all of it because again, do no harm. It either will raise the vibration and infuse it potently, which is the experience I got from the people who were using the products.
Big mistake they'll make is they'll clamp down. If you say inhale, hold your breath, like that was the wrong thing to do. Yeah, you say inhale, pull up, hold up, hold up, hold up. Well, then you gesture with your hand, hold up, and exhale. So you have to act out what you want their innate intelligence to do.
I think that goes into what we were talking about, the voices being, I know I've been really working on that because I feel like I have a very monotone voice. Like I'm just, and so this idea of inhale up and relax, like learning that, especially if one doesn't have there's Vincent just made an appearance. If you don't have a background in theater or acting,
We always say stretch like a cat. Hi, kitty.
So
In drumming, your tone note is only as good as your slap is only as good as your tone note. And what that means is, if I can just learn how to lower my voice and say relax, then I learn how, then just by going lower, then I can go higher easier. So for me, it was learn how to go lower. Learn how to, and I'm a man, I think. Yeah. And so for a man, maybe for my voice, it's easier to go lower. And so try maybe going higher and not necessarily the whole spectrum. And then perhaps
The
that low,
alternation.
the other
Yeah.
side comes a lot easier. And I learned that with drumming. You know, with a good tone, you have a good bass. With a good bass, you have a good tone.
And always be inspiring. Just it's really your job to inspire people to do more. Isn't it right? And so they say, okay, that's really good. It's like a dessert. It's like a tasty dessert after the meal. Always think in terms of that. Don't get too serious. Don't get religious. Don't use terms unless you're going to explain them. Sometimes I do is we incorporate a feedback system with the people that we're teaching. How was that for you? You know? Any questions? Yeah. And if they don't have any questions, they say, well, I was thinking about, and then you'll ask yourself a question and you'll answer it for somebody who didn't ask the question like that. So all these different things are kind of, you pick up along the way. Do you not? Yeah. These are just things that begin to evolve in us.
Bernard, are you using these in your your gong bath?
I would like to say for Erica, my country is Catholic too, and I'm using a neutral song from Catholic religion is saying or Ave Maria or something,
Yeah.
and our shrutis song by Dawn and the other from the book. And yes, I'm using these things too in my gong bath. It's open. Once before, I have a guest from Serbia, and after gong bath, he told the group, I would like to say 3 times Om. People like it too, even Catholic people, but they do yoga, they work for yourself, about yourself, and it was cute too.
Yeah, I
So,
think the using of the vowels is a really nice opening
Well, we
or
do have our
door.
vowels that we use, and we make them into diphthongs. When they become diphthongs, it's easier to make the overtones of the sound. So, but there are, I think, around 16 different combinations of just the A, E, I, O, U. Uh, so you practice combining the different ones, and then as soon as you feel this sound ray of this overtone, you can then direct it with your mind to any part of your body. Not only that, but because we're all one person in many bodies, really, the other person can do it as well. So you can actually send this overtone to anybody. If you look at somebody who's not doing it right, I can do it correctly, and then I can project with my imagination to that person and do it for them. And this comes in handy when you're working with somebody who's in the hospital, lying in bed, paralyzed, whatever the problem is. You just stand there and do the yoga for them and focus on them, and then you command the innate intelligence of that person who is incapable of doing it themselves. This is good for older people as well. Yeah?
I did that for you this week for your
Thank
dentist
you
and
very
your teeth.
much. Oh my God.
And I know that when I had COVID, I had people, Claudio in Belgium was gonging, and Michael, I had a whole bunch of people, which I appreciated as well.
I called my sister today, or she called me. She's a year and a half older than I am. They're in Texas in a sort of a place where they're staying. And she's fine. I said, I just had all my teeth pulled out. They're giving me new ones. I can't talk. And how's your teeth? No problem. So,
So Betty's fine?
but she's fine, yeah.
Oh, good. So we're going to gong your mouth today.
No, it's all right. I'm getting used to it now.
Okay.
Yesterday, when I heard the news about Dawn went to bed with the sniffles and woke up, we sent some vibrations at 8:45 yesterday morning, and we finished the vibrations and toning, and And then Defta says, Don likes shruti, so let's do a shruti. So we got the shruti box out, and Defta with her angelic voice, so we just were able to do some 3-part shruti with that. So we enjoyed it. We enjoyed being there and doing the projection. And what we send to one, we send to all. So that was really, so use it every day.
Well, and I think that's also when they talk about like prayer circles, right? And this idea of sending out energy. And within the context of the web, the energetic web that we're all connected to, especially during this time period where people are locked down or, wherever you are, this is a really important way of reconnecting. Even if we can't, necessarily connect in person, reconnecting energetically with each other and maintaining that connection in a positive way, because there's enough bad news out there, So,
Yeah, here's I think, do you all have this manual of the teachings?
that's the volume 1. That's the basics.
The
Yeah.
basics. Does everybody, you have that?
Erica should have it. I think she has it in Spanish. Yeah.
Well, if you just turn to page 23 in it, as we were talking about the diphthongs, the vowels.
Yeah, you have this on the course website. Yeah.
Yeah. So you can just give the diphthongs to your people that come to your clients or whatever you want to call them, your students, and then you can start and have them look at this and then begin combining different things together so they can discover for themselves the different how to make the overtones. I think it's very important to do overtones. Do you do it? Do you try the overtones? Yeah.
Also, because so often we've been told to negate or kind of shut our feelings down, especially if we're responding in a way that doesn't seem appropriate to the situation as children. So I feel like the more you meet people, very often you are meeting people who have some kind of trauma around their fifth chakra, where they're not able to express. To be fair, the millennials don't seem to have this. They all know exactly how to share. They want to be heard. They'll say to you, I need to be heard. Like this new generation, the Zs and the millennials, they seem to be fine. But anyone above that, there's a lot of work around this area that is healing through this process.
Yeah. So anyway, isn't it a wonderful thing to be able to share the gong and to the yoga of the gong and how you can do this? It never ceases to amaze you that you never get bored with it ever, do you? I have never been bored with it, and it's just like, oh, the new challenge, and you go out there and and then afterward, but always think about action, reaction, about feedback, about sharing, about getting people's opinion and answering it in a way that doesn't put them into a cage or a box, but leaves everything totally open. Because who knows, you might be right circumstantially, but you're not right beyond that. So that's why we do a lot of just universals. We make sure that in any language, that what we say, for instance, if you say, be kind to your soul and show the way of your heart. Now, sometimes you don't want to use soul because some people or think that's kind of religious. So you can always substitute words that fit. Be kind to yourself instead of that. So you have to use your discretion a lot.
Well, I mean, and I will say, not just because I'm biased as your daughter, but I think one of the beauty of working with you is you're always thinking outside the box. So as soon as you kind of get into a certain route, all of a sudden you come out and just start saying, okay, well, what if we played by the numbers? So we've, so all these different ways of kind of looking. I thought, if were you able to watch the session? Were you able to see in the Facebook group what Scott in Australia did with the numbers, the playing by the numbers? Bernarda, unmute yourself. Erica, he took the numbers, he put them on a chromatic scale. He has two little short, I think they're like 20 seconds, 30 seconds long, and he used phi, and he put it with the tones. And so one was, he explains his processing, but he used the phi to create these compositions that kind of blew us out of the water. We were really impressed with that.
Well, you can get more out of the box, and it's good to be able to get out of the box. So you could even pick up your morning newspaper and you're going to read and say, "Oh, it's going to rain today," and turn that into, "I think it's going to rain today." Turn everything into something really kind of like a child song for the child within yourself. Be free. I picked this up in the book. You probably have it too. The bucket list. Yeah.
Yeah.
I once in a while I'll look at that and say, well, have I been there and done that lately? Have I been to a wedding lately and done something? If I went to a wedding, what would I do? You see, and then I would really figure out that, so that in case I was ever invited, I have something prepared for it. Being a midwife or something, all these things you look at, find the correct shruti saying. Shruti is what? Revelation, a sort of awakening. Aha! So you do that. And penitentiaries, if you've ever gone to play the gong in a penitentiary, what do you say and what do you don't say? So you do the right thing in the right way to the right person. That's all.
All right, so to put into action, I think it
Yeah.
would be nice if we just do a nice 30 to 90-second exercise. I like the, should we do conception vessel and governing vessel?
You can do that because it's neutral, in the sense that it's 24-hour. It's not a rise and fall of the chi tide in your body. Or you can look at the clock and say, what time is it now? Aha, these are the muscles where the chi is. Now the muscles in the chi, if you got a constriction there, then you have to maybe back up and do the slice of the pie, it's a 24-hour pie, and do that before to release the energy that stopped up from, as like a hangover from the last 2-hour session, and then you go back and then you do that one. Or you go and you look and use your sacred geometry of trines are wonderful to use, and you look at something that might be in harmony with it, just like in astrology. So these are things that give you a flexibility to deal with any situation.
So if you don't have the Mem Gong Yoga manual, you can also look at your geometer chart and see the hours of the day and which muscles are associated. And I think it's important to note that the most important part is to focus on that muscle and activating and heating up that muscle with your intention. So there's certain exercises that you've put forth.
Yeah.
Those are suggestions. You can choose those exercises, or you can create your own. Or like I said previously, if you're in the gym and you already know you're working your supraspinatus with the machine, you can be utilizing that as well.
Or you can just do a general one. Just remember, if you recognize this, that the healing event that's going on is the greatest thing in the world. All right? There's nothing better. There's nothing greater. So if you do that, the healing effect, the healing response will be greater. So that's why we make everything like a bouquet. You brought in flowers today. Oh, nice. You just brought in a bunch of fresh flowers. That's what you want to do. That's why we have flowers in our class. We bring them in because we want to approach it like a fresh flower in the room. All right, so there's so much in this book. I just say use it as much as you can. The suggestions that you give are very, very important. On the next page here, which I think we have to pay homage to, is the guidelines for the gong bath and the suggestions that you do. they're not, you're not limited to this, but they sort of put you on the right path, and then whatever comes through you will be fine. But main thing is, do not put people in boxes. Do not have these hard opinions. Be totally open and free uh, with it. You can then transfer that flexibility and freedom to you, the people who come. So just remember, these are, to me, they're still important after 50 odd years.
So what are your favorites?
Um, well, they're all good.
I mean, I think what's nice is because sometimes if you don't use these, then at the end when you're doing your discussion, when you do these, you kind of you don't control the outcome, but you allow space for a more specific outcome, right? So if you just get going with your sound healing, people are coming in from all these different spaces. You've done the exercises, so they've released the physicality, right? They're now present, and then you gong. But we're such complex, complicated people with brains that, like you said, the chattering monkey brain, the person that's able to completely relax, the person who's able to, have like an energetic orgasm. You have disintegration. So when you say to them as that seed that you're planting, we talk about the hypnagogic and hypnopompic states, the bookends. When you plant a verbal seed that is, let the sound go through you as if you were not there at all. So now you've planted it. Now, whether or not they've consciously taken that in as you're playing, they've absorbed that seed. And it's a very neutral, benign, powerful, positive seed, right?
And remember, you're talking to yourself in other bodies. So then you're not telling other people what to do, you're telling yourself what to do, and you do it as well. You just don't sit up there in meditation pose, you see, and send it out like that. The important thing, the difference between this and other yogas is that you do it too. You do not make yourself apart from what you're telling people to do.
I will remain open and allow the sound vibrations to immerse me without any resistance. That's...
Yeah, or let the sound go through you as though you weren't there. Now, whatever, you want to paraphrase it anyway, like that. So this type of thing is very important to develop a greater selection of things for all occasions, so that when you go to play, you're not laying a trip on people. You're going there to find out, to support their belief system, and that's it. And at least that's the way I try to do.
I like this one, number 7. I will let go of any urge to control anything, even the urge to let go.
So you have a glass of wine.
I desire not to desire.
I desire not to desire.
And always try to keep a sense of humor. Don't get too serious, because laughter is the greatest healer, is it not?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a great one also, if you have a practice of laughter yoga to get everyone laughing ahead of time and then gong.
Yeah.
That's really powerful and fun. Yes.
And when people are lying down to relax, the Hatha yogis have a wonderful way to relax. When you lie down in corpse pose or savasana, you then relax, and generally what the course is from the feet to the head. Is that right? Relax your feet, relax your
Toes, yeah.
ankles, etc., and you go up the body like that. Well, that's a tried and true way to follow it. So as you do that, if there's any tension at all, be free to move and get rid of it. Even though you might be in so-called corpse pose or savasana, still you can move, and you can. The main thing to do, if you're comfortable, everybody will find comfort.
I don't know if you know this, but when we talk about, especially at the end, to release the next, relax, in Chinese medicine, the neck, like the sternocleidomastoid and the neck points, this area here, there's a whole bunch of points called ghost points.
Oh.
And we use those to release entities or energies. And in Chinese medicine, even things like anxiety, depression, schizophrenia, bipolar, all of these forms of disharmony in the mental space, those are considered ghosts, right? So that's all in this area. So I was thinking about the fact that when we ask people to relax and release, in essence, we're asking them on some level to release their ghosts, release those that which isn't grounding them and keeping them here. So just with that releasing of the neck. So
Hello, hello.
Morgan came at
Morgan's
the end
here.
to say
Hello.
hello.
I'm sorry I'm so late, but I had this birthday party here. We're giving cacao ceremonies and sound sessions to children and family members, and
So we'll
planning the chiometer and all this kind of yummy paka paka dawn stuff. It's amazing.
fantastic.
Don't be a coward.
Have another glass.
Well, we're wrapping up here,
Yeah.
actually, Morgan, and so we're gonna say goodbye for now. We'll meet you at our usual time. I believe it's on. Are we meeting on Tuesday or Thursday? It's on the schedule.
Yeah.
And we are going forward today. We've got a live training here in the garden. So we
Great.
wish you all well. We give you
I am
kisses.
jealous. I
You're here
didn't.
with us in spirit, Bernarda.
What's the homework?
It should be placed on the site as well. So it's
Okay.
all there for you. And we wish you well, and we'll say goodbye
Come
till
in
next
February.
time.
Okay, much love.
Bill says, come join us here in LA in February.
I love to, but I don't have plane tickets money for that.
Not
So
yet.
not yet. It's coming.
Take care.
Ciao. Have a great